see if we can play just a tiny bit like the great Michael Brecker. Okay, so the first step is to go outside. As you can see, I am outside. That just leaves the small matter of playing like Michael Brecker. Okay, there's my little gag about playing outside like Michael Brecker. I worked with Mike for 4 years as a keyboard player and off and on again after that, but 4 years with the Brecker Brothers. I produced a couple of Mike's records, Tales from the Hudson and Time is of the Essence. Got to know the guy really well, a fantastic person. It's hard to describe the dichotomy between the intensity of his playing and the light goofiness of his personality. Of course, I'm not going to show you how to play exactly like Michael Brecker in 8 or 10 minutes, but there were times when I was working with Mike, especially when we were recording or we were listening to something back. We made a live record in Barcelona. It's actually a video, really cool video. And we'd be listening to it and working on something, and I'd say, Mike, you got to tell me what that thing is that you played right there. And Mike would always say the same thing. Oh, I don't know, half step up, half step down. And the first couple times he said that to me, I said, yeah, Mike, you know, we all try to do half step up, half step down, but it doesn't sound like that. And he would smile his little Mona Lisa smile. And, you know, I kind of figured out that what he was saying was, I can't explain it to you. It's like, well, I superimposed a C minor, you know, Locrian Asian scale on it or something like that. It just didn't work like that. But he was kind of telling the truth sometimes when he said half step up and half step down. And I had been working on this way of playing outside, and I'm going to show you a little bit of it because it's actually a way to play half step up, half step down, get it to sound kind of like Mike. I mean, you know, Mike Brecker, most of us aren't fit to touch the hem of his garment. There was one time when we were making Time is of the Essence, he came in after just outplaying himself, and he knew when he like really reached an apex. And I got down on the floor and I'm like touching the hem of his pants, and he says, what are you doing? And I said, I am touching the hem of your garment so that some of your, you know, genius can rub off on me. And he laughed. But I'm going to show you something here that I played a bunch of in the little intro playing that I did there, that is a way to get half step up and half step down in there and have it make perfect sense. There's two things I'm looking for when I get outside. One of which is that it gets back in. It's not like I just play a bunch of wrong notes, you know. and then I, end on a note that's in the chord scale, whatever it is. It has to, get out and get in a way that makes sense. So we go on this adventure, we stretch the harmony way back, and then we close it out. And nobody closes stuff out better than the Bbop cats. All those guys, if you don't know Bbop, you're missing like the foundational language of what we do as jazz musicians, to me. And so I kind of worked out this little way to play Bbop on it, but to get to that half step up thing, there's nothing wronger than that. That just sounds awful. But we can play it in such a way that we get out and come back in like a bebopper, and it's great. And the other thing that I look for in it is that we stand some chance of whistling it, that we know where we are outside, that we can whistle the outside notes, and it makes sense to us. Now, I've explained this a couple different times before, but I'm going to explain it here in the context of maybe one of the myriad ways that Michael Brecker might have looked at it, because he was all over the place. I remember seeing a clinic with Dave Liebman, too, where Liebman said, at this point, I'm just in any of the 12 keys at any point. It's all become a continuum to me. Like, I don't feel like I have to have a rationalization for it. And all of this stuff, if you can tell by the way I played in the beginning, has sort of just become second nature to me. Let's look at how I do it. So C minor. Uh-oh, my sustain pedal is reversed. There we go. It's basically an E flat major 7 chord with a C in the bottom. Now, I had already gotten into the habit of, in looking for resources to play an altered chord, there's a B flat 7 altered chord. If I'm playing a bebop scale on it, that's my go-to. It's a B minor bebop scale. If I'm playing pentatonics on it, though, I'm going to use a C sharp minor pentatonic or a B minor 6 pentatonic. Half step up, half step down. So when I'm playing, and we're fixed on a C minor, the pedal point is there. In my head, I'm playing this real simple 5-1 progression. And at this point, I don't have to do this before, but when I was trying to figure out how to get outside and close it out like a bebop guy would and have it be seamless the way that the great outside players are, this is kind of what I came up with for these two pentatonic scales. So, right, that's a line that's based on a C sharp minor pentatonic, and I am not strict that it has to be limited to those 5 notes at all, but I'm thinking C sharp minor pentatonic. So all those lines that work on B altered to B altered to E flat major also work on C minor. I'm going to fix this sustain pedal, which is right now it's backwards before it drives me nuts. Okay, we're back. So let's check this out a little bit. I'm going to play a line. Right? So it goes out, it visits that alternate tonality. That one was mostly like a B minor 6 pentatonic. superimposed over this B flat 7 that only exists in my head. B flat 7 altered. Then there's, let's take... I'm not playing exactly the same line, but you get the idea. In that case, I'm closing it out with an approach pattern. If you look, you'll see a lesson that I did on approach patterns. Those are such an excellent way, when you're a ways out of the central tonality, to snap back into it. So the way I like to get people to practice these is, when I do private lessons via Skype, or I'm going to put this particular little play-along track on my Patreon page as a free download, I like to have people get started. We're going to do 4 rounds of B flat 7 altered to E flat major 7. And we're going to get our lines going with these 2 pentatonics on the B flat 7 to the E flat major, but then it settles into C minor for 8 bars. And the idea is that kind of we get our momentum going, we've got some lines flowing with these 2 outside scales. They're not that outside on this cadence. Right? There's a couple interesting notes in it. There's a little approach pattern to close that one out. But they sure are outside over a C minor pedal point. Let me play a little bit on this, and I'm just going to kind of show you what it sounds like to get some lines flowing on B flat 7 altered to E flat major 7, and then play the same ideas once it hits the C minor 7 pedal point. That's not bad. I'm trying to constrain myself as much as I can to demonstrating the issue at hand, which is substituting those 2 pentatonics on there. Again, this little play along, I'll make it at a few different tempos, maybe 3 different tempos, because it really is good. First we got to get our lines together on a B flat altered 7 to an E flat major 7. And once we get that going, though, you start to put them on the C minor, and your brain starts to develop this 3rd lane or something like that, where you can hear what you're doing, and it's not that strange to you, because you're just kind of playing bebop on an altered chord. But boy, it sure does take it out in a really great way for people who are listening. Before I continue, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button if you're getting something out of this lesson. It's one of my favorite topics. There is a way to cover all 12 of the pentatonic scales with this kind of thinking, a simple little progression that happens in your head. And eventually it all just becomes a thing where it's just a flow state. And you've visited these keys enough different times in enough different ways that they just kind of flow out, and it sounds like it should sound, like you're creating a bunch of tension and resolving it in a super satisfying way. Creates a lot of intensity. And when I'm practicing, and I'm practicing for some tours. I've got 4 tours coming up with Bill Evans this year. One thing that I'm always really sure to do, and it sounds ugly to the neighbors, I'm sure, but I practice just playing one of the keys, one of the pedal points that we're going to play in Bill's music. He's got one that's in F sharp minor. And I make sure that I go visit all 12 pentatonics, because it forces my hand to do a lot of uncomfortable stuff that if I was just playing a standard, I might not necessarily find. So it's great in that way too, but I'd be curious to hear if anybody else can get some good outside playing going using this one weird trick. And, again, this is a tiny percentage of playing like Michael Brecker. But, we do the best we can. So I'll see you for the next lesson here on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you're getting something out of these.
Let's play another. Yeah. That was a good one. That was a good one.